Welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Raja Mukherjee, and this is the Value Creation Playbook. I want to start with something I have seen in nearly every business I've worked with the last 2 decades. A CEO who is genuinely exceptional, smart, capable, decisive, and arguably the most competent person in the room by definitely some margin, and completely structurally incapable of letting go. Not because they are a control freak, don't even think that for a second. Not that because they do not trust their team, but because the system around them, the one that they built over the years, was never designed for ownership to transfer. And so everything flows back. Every decision, every approval, every problem that needs fixing back to the CEO. And sometimes, if the CEO is not there, it gets stuck with the business unit lead. So today, I'm going to tell you why that happens, what it costs, and exactly how to build the system that stops it. Now, let me be clear about something before we go any further. Because I've had this conversation with enough C suite leaders to know that the first instinct is self criticism. This is not a character flaw, it is a system failure. Here is what actually happens: you hand something over, the team member does their best, but the standard is not clear. You never said what good looks like, or the decision authority is not explicit, or on the other hand, the accountability consequences is theoretical rather than real. So the work comes back. You have no choice but to fix it because it is faster and the deadline is real. And in doing so, you confirm the lesson. The fastest route to get something done is to hand it back to the CEO. Now you understood how you are closing the loop yourself. You did not create a delegation problem. You unwittingly have created a system that makes escalation rational. The fix is not about trust, and no amount of conversations will get you there. What you need to do is to establish a very different system in your organization. Now, I want to be specific about what this costs because, in my experience, most of the C suites dramatically underestimate the number. Think of your calendar in the last 2 weeks. Count the hours spent approving things that someone else should have been empowered to approve. Or you would be reviewing drafts that should have been final, or making calls that should have been made 2 levels below you. In most businesses I work with, that number is staggering. It's somewhere, sometimes 30 to 50% of the CEO's working week. Every week, and compounding. That is not a delegation problem. That, ladies and gentlemen, what I call is a tax. Tax on your time, on your strategic capacity, and on the growth ceiling of every person below you who has learned to wait rather than decide. The distinction that matters most in this conversation is between delegating a task and transferring ownership. They sound very familiar. However, they produce completely different outcomes. Task delegation looks like this: I tell you what needs to happen, You do it, then I review it, we discuss my feedback, you adjust, and I approve. And then the cycle continues. And then we again repeat the entire sequence for the next time the same type of task comes around. I remain the quality standard, the decision maker, and the final authority throughout. Task delegation reduces workload marginally. It does not reduce decision dependency at all. Ownership transfer is very different. And it's different in a very important way. I define the outcome, the result, not the method. You determine how to achieve it. You make the decisions required along the way. You own the quality. You escalate only when you hit a genuine boundary, a decision that is outside your authority or involves risk about a definite threshold that you're about to cross. Everything else is yours. Most businesses operate almost entirely in task delegation mode. They call it delegation because work is being assigned, but if the CEO is still the quality standard and still the final decision point, ownership never moved. For ownership to transfer and stay transferred, three conditions must be in place simultaneously. If any one is missing, the ownership migrates back within weeks. Condition number one, outcome clarity. The person must know exactly what results they own, not the activity, not the deliverable, the result. Not manage the client relationship or ensure this client is commercially growing and would give us a reference without prompting. The specificity of the outcome definition determines the specificity of the ownership. Condition number two, decision authority, real authority, not nominal. If every meaningful decision still requires the CEO sign in, the ownership is theoretical. The authority can be explicit, documented, and has to be respected. When someone makes a decision within their authority and overruled without good reason, the ownership is immediately undermined. Condition number three, genuine consequence, a regular, structured accountability conversation, weekly or fortnightly. You decide, but where results are reviewed, explanations are given, and adjustments are made. Consequence is not a punishment and is never meant to be. It is the mechanism that makes ownership real rather than theoretical. The most damaging combination in a relationship, which is all about in a typical office environment, and where the leadership team has high accountability paired with low authority. And it is almost always created with the best intentions. A leader is made responsible for an outcome. They are held to it in operating reviews, but when they go to make a decision, say a commercial call or a resource allocation or even a hiring choice, there is always a step where approval is needed. From the CEO, could be a committee, from a peer with informal veto powers. What is the result? The result is predictable. People in high accountability, low authority roles do not fail noisily, they fail quietly through escalation, through delay, through recommendations that are always conditional. Because making a decision and being wrong is more costly in their experience than not making a decision at all. When you give someone accountability without authority, you have not empowered them. You have given them a target and moved the tool to hit it. Three moves, each one simple in concept, each one requiring consistent follow through to become more structural. And that is what I call the ownership transfer framework. Move 1, define outcome, not methods. The brief for any significant delegated responsibility should specify the result required, the standard it must meet, the timeline, and the constraint, but not the method for achieving it. Move 2, map decision rights explicitly. For every single delegated outcome, produce a written decision rights map. 3 categories: decisions this person makes independently, decisions they make and notify you about, and thirdly, decisions they bring you to make and rather than wait for anything else to happen. One page, specific enough. Move number 3, build an accountability cadence, not a supervision rhythm, a regular structured conversation, not a progress report, not a red, amber, green report, but an accountability review. What was the outcome? What decisions were made? Now, I've given you what all frameworks you can use, but let me now describe what a business looks like when ownership architecture is working. The CEO's calendar changes. The hours that were spent on operating approvals are replaced by strategic conversations. Problems arrive with proposed solutions attached to it rather than open questions waiting for the CEO to close them. The second indicator is what happens when the CEO is not there. In a business with genuine ownership architecture, the pace and quality of the decisions does not change when the CEO is unavailable. And the third indicator, perhaps the most telling, is the nature of the questions that come to the senior team. Instead of should I do this, the question becomes I did this and here is what I learned. That shift from seeking permissions to reporting results is the clearest sign that ownership has genuinely transferred. And these are 4 questions. Answer them for your business as it actually is today, not as you wish it were. 1, can the people in critical roles in your business make the top 3 decisions those roles require without calling you first? 2, when someone goes wrong or something goes wrong in a delegated area, does it come back to your desk or does it get resolved at a level where it belongs? 3, in your operating reviews, does your team bring back problems or solutions with outcome attached? 4, and this keeps recurring everywhere. If you are unavailable for 2 weeks with no contact, what would change about the quality or pace of decisions in your business? Now, we have talked about the good things and the bad things and what good looks like. Let me try and put a number on this. What is the cost? Because I think it will help you make the decisions to change more concrete. As a CEO of a $30 million business who spends 25 to 35% of their working week on decisions, and that should be around 2 to 3 levels down below them, that's roughly 600 hours per year. And I'm taking a blended, fully loaded cost of roughly around $500 per hour. A conservative number for a senior guy, that would be around $300,000 of leadership capacity consumed by decisions that the ownership architecture never reached. This is not an abstract cost, guys. It is a strategy work that did not happen. The investor relationships that were not built, the market opportunities that were not evaluated. The list goes on. The answer is not to work harder on delegation. The answer, and that is what I tell to all my clients, is to build a different system. Outcome clarity, decision authority, or accountability cadence. Three structural moves that do not need different people. They require a different architecture approach around the people that you already have. And every decision that should have been made at level 3 but gets made at your level is a compounding tax on your organization, which is unwarranted and absolutely avoidable. Now you have the framework, you know what good looks like. Just go ahead and implement that in phases, and don't try to do all of them at the same time because there's a very big change element to it. If you want to map the specific ownership gaps in your leadership team, where accountability sits without authority, or where decisions are being made at a wrong level, or where the organization is waiting for the CEO when it should be moving, book a meeting with me. I'll share the link in the description and the next slide, and we'll work together on your specific team issues and give you a more concrete, readily usable plan. Scan either any one of those QR codes. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, through the website, or even on the YouTube channel. Here's an easy scanner for you. Just go ahead, scan them, scan the QR code, and book a meeting with me. And as always, thank you so much for being a part of this journey. Really appreciate the insights and the feedback that you keep sharing. Helps me fine tune the content that I keep building and sharing with you. These contents are, as always, are meant to give you those small tweaks in the approach, in the architecture, that will help you run your business better, faster, and grow profitably. Till next time, take care, stay safe, and we speak soon.